Cult. A system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. It has been said that religion can make good men do evil things. Nothing drives a person further than the fear of a wrathful God, or the belief that one can ascend beyond the human self. There exist people that will manipulate and convince those of a weak mind, that seek a form of acceptance in life, to have them do their bidding, or simply feed their need for power and control. These religious groups can be benign and innocent, or in some cases sinister and deadly. From mass suicide to cannibalism to human sacrifice, let's take a look at the darker side of religious belief. Welcome to Innocence Unknown. Many cult leaders have managed to brainwash their followers into believing that by taking their own lives, they can shed their mortal selves and ascend beyond who they are. In the case of Heaven's Gate, Marshall Applewhite convinced 39 of his followers to commit suicide. Then there is the Solar Temple, founded by Luc Jarret and Joseph de Mombro. Mombro managed to convince his followers that he was the reincarnation of a 14th century Christian of the Knights Templar, and that his daughter was the cosmic child, who would lead them all to a planet orbiting the star Sirius after their deaths. The cult grew to have lodges in Switzerland, Canada, Martinique, Australia, and several other countries. As time went by, money, sex, and power became a key role. Jarrett became obsessed with sex and began to engage in relations with female members before services and rituals, and even began to see himself as Jesus Christ. A member noticing this hypocrisy decided to leave the cult and was later found stabbed to death with his wife and child in Canada. As the cult began to get attention from governments, the leaders proclaimed that the end of the world was coming and convinced followers that it was time to take their own lives. Some were ritualistically murdered, some were asphyxiated. In some cases, the bodies were situated into a star formation. Later in 1997, 5 more bodies were discovered in Quebec, Canada, with 3 children managing to escape the chaos. In the end, 74 were dead, including Jarret, de Mombro, and several children. Many different religious groups or cults tend to look to the stars for their salvation. Sometimes these cults can be harmless, and nothing more than people of a matching interest gathering together to share their beliefs with one another. However, other cults can get far out of hand, and the worst atrocities can be committed in the name of their ideas and beliefs, such as the case of the Superior Universal Alignment. In the 1980s, Valentina de Andrade formed a religion based upon the idea that God did not exist and Jesus was an extraterrestrial being from another planet in Brazil. Her claim was that aliens had contacted her to warn of an impending doom to the Earth. This, of course, could be avoided as long as her and her followers were to spread the word of this warning, and the aliens would come to take them all away to be saved. There was but one caveat to all this. Boys born after the year of 1981 were the embodiment of pure evil and should be sacrificed as payment to be saved from the end of the world. In 1989, in the town of Altamira, there was a sudden increase in young boys being reported missing. And by 93, there was reported up to 19 children between 8 and 13 missing, and 5 bodies were found to be tortured and castrated. Unfortunately, there was no evidence linking a possible perpetrator. As the investigation continued and hit roadblock after roadblock, a boy came forward to explain that he had escaped his captors, and he began to describe a multitude of atrocious acts performed upon others and himself. torture, stabbings, rape, castration, mutilation, and even organ harvesting for the black market. Some say they may have taken part in cannibalism as well. This boy named 2 doctors, a wealthy businessman, a police officer, and Valentina, all were respected members of society. All the boy's captors were eventually brought in for trial, and of the 19 missing, 5 were never found. All were prosecuted and punished for their crimes, except one, Valentina de Andrade. Due to a solid alibi, she was allowed to walk free. Today, she is now freely spreading her self-proclaimed gospel to the masses. Organized crime, drugs, and cults tend to always go hand in hand. Sometimes they involve other sinister activities, not only murder and human sacrifice, but even cannibalism. Spring break 1989, South Padre Island, Mexico. University of Texas medical student Mark Kilroy got separated from his friends and disappeared. Mark would be missing for a month as police searched tirelessly, but hit dead end after dead end. Until on April 1st, police followed a vehicle speeding through a traffic checkpoint, which took them to Santa Elena Ranch. Upon an initial search, police uncovered various items used in occult rituals and illegal drugs. The police returned 8 days later to fully search the ranch and question the people there, and discovered something far more grisly. After not only finding a cache of weapons and drugs, but uncovered 15 bodies, Mark Kilroy being one of them. As it turned out, the people of this ranch were members of a cult led by a man named Adolfo Costanzo. Costanzo practiced a religion known as Palo Mayombe, which heavily involved animal sacrifice. Costanzo met 2 others and began a profitable business of performing religious rituals for clients that were often involved heavily in the drug trade. These rituals would involve the sacrifice of animals such as chickens, goats, snakes, zebras, and in some cases, lion cubs. Costanzo began to believe that his rituals and spells were responsible for the successes of the many drug cartels he performed for, and even demanded to become a full partner with the most powerful cartel of the time, the Calzadas. The cartel rejected his demands, and then 7 of his family members turned up missing, and later were found without fingers, toes, brains, and even a spine. Later, Adolfo befriended the new upcoming cartel known as the Hernandez brothers. This is when he met his soon-to-be high priestess Sarah Aldrat. She not only served as his priestess, but as his second-in-command to aid in supervising the shipping of drugs across American borders. In 1988, his followers and he had moved to Santa Elena Ranch. This is where Adolfo would murder rival dealers and even ransom strangers among them. Costanzo requested the need of a smart and superior brain for a ritual. Thus, Kilroy was chosen and taken by his followers. Costanzo brutally murdered him using a machete. After mutilating Kilroy, he boiled his brain, ate it, and buried Mark. Police, after raiding the ranch, took all of his followers in, and sometime later finally caught Adolfo. And what was him taking a last stand against the police, holding them off with a machine gun. When ammo dried up, he ordered a follower to kill him, as he felt death would have made a better end to facing life in jail, or even execution. Cults are not always out in the open, and not always so large, but can easily be hidden from the naked eye. Be wary of one who claims they can bring you salvation, because not all have the best intentions in mind. Thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Perhaps click the bell for notifications, and remember, hell is empty and the devils are here.